Okay, hello everybody. My name is Jameson Chase Young, and this is Coins and History. In the second part of this video, we're going to be talking about the 1896 Morgan silver dollar, New Orleans. So please stick around for that. But first, we're going to be talking about the Anglo-Zanzibar War. Now, normally when you think of a war, you think of something that, drags on for months or years, or at least days and weeks. But that's not always the case. The Anglo-Zanzibar War, it was a military conflict fought between the United Kingdom and the Sultanate of Zanzibar. It was fought on the 27th of August, 1896. The conflict only lasted in between around 38 to 45 minutes, that marking it the shortest war in recorded history. The immediate cause of the war was the suspicious death of pro-British Sultan Hamad bin Thawani on the 25th of August, 1896. And his succession, Khalid, he succeeded him. Now, he wasn't in British favorites, and this was a British colony. So the British authorities preferred Hamad bin Muhammad, who was more favorable to the British interest because the British were anti-slavery, and this Muhammad guy, he also was anti-slavery. But the Sultan of Khalid, he wasn't anti-slavery. That had to do with the June 14th, 1890 agreement, that the Sultan would always have to get permission from the British. And then Khalid, he didn't fill out those requirements. So the British sent him an ultimatum demanding that he ordered his forces to stand down and leave the palace. In response, Khalid called up his palace guards and barricaded himself inside the palace. At 8 a.m. on the morning of the 27th of August, after a messenger sent by Khalid requested parley, the consul replied that he would only have salvation if he agreed to the terms of the ultimatum. At 8:30 a.m., a further message went from Khalid declaring that we have no intentions of hauling down our flag and we do not believe that you will open fire on us. The British replied that we do not want to open fire on you, but unless you do as you're told, that we're going to. And at 8:55, having received no further word from the palace, aboard the St. George, Commander Rawson, he hoisted the signal to prepare for action. The ultimatum, it expired on 9 a.m. local time on the 27th of August, by which time the British had gathered 2 cruisers, 3 gunboats, 150 Marines and sailors, and 915 Zanzibars in the harbor space, ready to surround the Sultan's palace. The Royal Navy, under the command of Rear Admiral Harry Rawson, and the pro-Anglo-Zanzibars, they were all in command by Brigadier General Lloyd Matthews of the Zanzibar Army. Around 2,800 Zanzibars defending the palace. Most were recruited from the civilian population, but they also included the Sultan's palace guards and several hundred of the servants and slaves. The defenders had several artillery pieces and machine guns, which were set in front of the palace, sighted at the British. A bombardment opened at around 9:02 a.m. and it set the palace on fire and disabled the defending artillery. A small naval action took place, with the British sinking the Zanzibar Royal Yacht HHS Glasgow. The 2 smaller vessels, some shots were also fired ineffectively at the pro-British Zanzibar troops as they approached the palace. The flag at the palace was shot down and the firing ceased at around 9:40 to 9:46. That in the aftermath of this all, approximately 500 Zanzibari men and women were killed or wounded during the bombardment. Most of the dead happened because of fires that when the palace caught on fire. It is unknown how many of these casualties were combatants, but Khalid's gun crew were said to have been decimated. British casualties amounted to just 1 single petty officer severely wounded aboard the Thrush, who later recovered. Although the majority of the Zanzibari townspeople sided with the British, the town's Indian quarter suffered from opportunistic looting and around 20 inhabitants died in the chaos. Sultan Khalid and around 40 of his followers, they sought refuge in the German consulate following their flight from the palace and where they were guarded by German sailors and Marines. Despite extradition requests, German consul they refused to extradite Khalid because he was considered a political prisoner. So instead, the German consul promised to remove Khalid to East German Africa without him settling on foot or on any soil of Zanzibar. At 10 a.m. on the 2nd of October, the SMS Seidler of the German Imperial Navy arrived in port at the high tide. It managed to push its way right up to the consulate's garden gate, right there at the harbor, and Khalid stepped from the embassy grounds to the German war vessel, and hence he was free from arrest. It was that Anglo-Zanzibar War that was going on in 1896, and the coin that was being minted during that year in the United States was the Morgan silver dollar. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the New Orleans Morgan silver dollar, but just in general, the Morgan silver dollar is the best. You know, everybody loves them. Everybody loves to collect them. They're just kind of everybody's favorite. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And yeah, the 1896 is a very special year, a very special coin. This Morgan silver dollar is great. You know, these Morgan silver dollars are really nice. I think the 1890s in general are a great year for, Morgans. Lots of times when you get the late 1870s or the 1880s, sometimes they're a little bit worn. I've gotten some 1921s that they're great, but they almost look too great. They don't got that old, looking tarnish that the Morgan silver dollar has. But yeah, that 1890s time period, that's just like a perfect meet in the middle. Now, it's a little bit unclear as far as the exact mintage, but in 1896, they minted almost 20 million Morgan silver dollars. This one specifically, the New Orleans, almost 5 million. It is the rarest of all the 1896s because the San Francisco mint, it minted right around 5 million, and the Philadelphia mint minted almost 10 million. For a total of almost 20 million. The mass of the Morgan silver dollar is 26.73 grams. The diameter is 38.1 millimeters. Its thickness is 2.4 millimeters. Its edge is reeded. Its composition is 90% silver, 10% copper. And the years minted were 1878 to 1904, and then again in 1921. And the designer is George T. Morgan. They started these Morgan silver dollars in 1878. And yeah, like I said, these are great coins, and it was a great year. The Morgan silver dollar was the silver dollar in the United States that was being minted in 1896. And the Anglo-Zanzibar War over in Africa was one of the more historic wars, or a very unique thing in history, being the shortest war in history. And that's what was going on when this 1896 Morgan silver dollar was being minted. So I hope you found this very interesting, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe. My name's Jameson Chase Young, and this is Coins in History. Thank you.